recording 3. What's up, YouTube? So we are going to do a quick video on the House hearing on examining the Veterans Readiness and Employment Program. And just to start it off, introducing the person here that is the head of this entire committee, and someone that I think we should recognize as an amazing person. I don't know if he's Democrat. I don't care if he's a Republican or a Democrat, independent. I don't care. I care what he stands for. And one of the things, of course, he stands for, Mr. Derek Van Order, is he's there to help the veterans. He's on the veteran committee. Of course, he himself was a veteran, so I think he's somebody we should be applauding and looking into as a person that we can count on to be a part and to kind of help what the veterans have gone through, and to not to mince words, but to put it in his own words. He started off with introducing himself, so I'll let him do that.
And you are the reason.
Of course, giving some congratulations to the council next to him, so it was very nice that he said basically, without her help, none of this would have been possible.
Okay, now it's time to be mean.
That was my favorite part. He introduces himself, and he's like, hey, I'm a nice guy.
Helping me get through these things as a rookie dude.
As a super
she's
nice
still going to be
thing.
with the VA committee, obviously, but she's going to be kind of more of a broad general counselor for everybody, right? So I really want to applaud you.
So that's their lawyer,
consummate
basically.
professional, and you are the reason that this subcommittee and this committee is, I think, the most functional committee in the entire House of Representatives. So thank you very much. Okay, now it's time to be mean. That was a joke. Sorry. Mike thought it was funny. The purpose of this program is to assist veterans and service members who have service-connected disabilities with on-the-job training and skills they need in order to obtain meaningful employment or achieve maximum independent living. When this program is appropriately administered, VR&E is more than just a benefits program. It's also a vital first step for disabled veterans to become more financially independent, give back to their community, and achieve their own American dream. And to my knowledge, I believe I'm the only member of Congress that has actually utilized this program. And so I know it inside and out from soup to nuts. However, we are at a crossroads, and I believe right now that VR&E program is going in the wrong direction. Since 2015, Republicans on the subcommittee have been concerned about VR&E's previous IT failures that have cost the government millions of dollars. Other IT failures in VA have cost taxpayers billions, and we cannot let VR&E be the latest IT project to become one of these failures. I recognize that VR&E's latest IT project, the Readiness Employment System, or RES, was launched as a pilot a few months ago, and early reports showed that the program has been received well. This is encouraging news, but the IG said in our last...
It's incredibly encouraging news. However, this gentleman is the director of the VA, Veterans Readiness and Employment Services. So he's the executive director of specifically, he's responsible for administrating benefit programs for transitioning service members, service-connected veterans, and other beneficiaries in the program. However, let's skip past this gentleman right here, Mr. Levy. Not sure who he is, ranking member. He brought up several issues that he had as well. So jumping right to his. Out of here, Breaking Bad.
I want to emphasize also its continued importance. It's so critically important that we aim to prepare veterans with service-connected disabilities for life after military service. VR&E provides essential services to service members and veterans who are unable to find or maintain employment due to service-connected disabilities. It offers job training, a variety of employment-related support to help them secure a job, assist veterans in achieving
So this is a good breakdown. If you're not sure what VR&E is, here's a perfect example of what it is.
maximum independence in their daily lives when the severity of their disabilities prevents them from working. And in fiscal year 2023, the program served over 131,000 service members and veterans and paid out $1.6 billion in benefits. VR&E benefits are administered at regional offices across the country. The program has counselors located at colleges and universities to assist veterans during their transition to civilian life, and counselors located at 70 military installations to assist transitioning service members. So I'm very glad we're holding this hearing today. It's one of the VA's oldest and most impactful programs, but my experience over the 6 years I've been in Congress is it never really has received the attention that it's deserved. In fact, since I joined the committee, I've noticed several issues that have impacted the program. One of the very first hearings that I held as chairman of this subcommittee in 2019 was to find out why participation in VRE was so low. And things have really changed in 6 years. We're now hearing understaffing is the problem. And in my district, as the chairman said, we've heard that veterans have to wait for approximately 15 to 18 months for an initial appointment. That is simply unacceptable. That is simply unacceptable. 15.
Let me go back to that.
Things have really changed in 6 years. We're now hearing understaffing is the problem.
So they started off the program and no one gave a shit. As per usual, everyone says they care about veterans, but then when it comes to the actual helping veterans, fall short.
And in my district, as the chairman said, we've
Now,
heard that
they're changing their tune. Now it's like, oh, well, you know, for 5.5 years, no one wants the benefits.
veterans have to wait for approximately 15 to 18 months for an initial appointment. That
What? 15 to 18 months to talk to an HR counselor, essentially? Like, what?
is simply unacceptable. That is simply unacceptable. 15 to 18 months. We can't expect service members and veterans to put their lives on hold for nearly a year and a half to wait for an appointment. In addition, VR&E still has not developed and implemented modernization efforts for digital case management systems, despite 2 previously failed attempts. So I look forward to an update on the status of the case management system and its development. I know the program has been working to modernize VR&E, reduce the administrative burden on counselors. I would be remiss if I didn't raise concerns we're also hearing from veterans, school certifying officials, or SCOs, and our VSOs, some of whom I see in the back. Veterans and SCOs both express concerns with consistent communication and regular contact with VR&E counselors. VSOs have also raised concerns about unrealistic deadlines for veterans to select an employment goal, which could lead to the closure of a veteran's case. When a veteran is found entitled to VR&E, they start collaborating with their counselor to determine the essential services needed for success in the program. Rushing through the initial process isn't going to produce a positive outcome. Last Congress, I led legislation.
Shocker. Getting people in and out of a system as fast as possible doesn't help the person. Healthcare system. But yeah, obviously, if you're just going to have a vet come in and not give them the attention to detail or say, hey, what do you think you should do? Instead, you have some of these VR&E, counselors are like, here's what you're going to do. No, that's not what I'm going to do. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do this. This is what I'm looking to do. How can you help me get there? That's how it should work, but that's not how it works currently, unfortunately.
That was signed into law that expanded access to self-employment opportunities through VR&E. This expansion was intended to support veterans as they started their own small businesses. So I'm eager to learn about the program's efforts in recruitment and retention, as well as the expansion of hiring criteria to attract more counselors. I also look forward to hearing from our witnesses on the challenges in both hiring and retaining of staff. For example, we heard.
Do you swear that the testimony you're about to provide is the truth, the whole truth, and
VA's
nothing but the
response?
truth?
To replace the table, we chose to get something that's modern looking.
So we're not going to play the sound on this. Skip.
Thank you. Let the record reflect that the witnesses have answered in the affirmative. Mr. Pamperin, you're now recognized for 5 minutes to deliver your testimony on behalf of the Department of Veterans Affairs.
Good morning, Chairman Van Orden, Ranking Member Levin, and members of the subcommittee. Thank you for the opportunity to discuss the Department of Veterans Affairs Veteran Readiness and Employment Program today. I'm accompanied today by Mr. Ken Smith, Assistant Deputy Undersecretary for Operations. The mission of VR&E is to assist those who have a service-connected disability and an employment barrier, prepare for, find, and maintain suitable employment, or live independently. The VR&E program is a vital benefit, helping veterans and service members explore employment opportunities, find new skills, or address educational or training needs. This can be learning new skills through traditional schooling, finding a new job, returning to an old employer, starting a business, or getting educational counseling. Due to increased outreach and the expansion of PACT Act benefits, VR&E has seen tremendous growth in program applicants, over 44% since the implementation of the PACT Act. At the beginning of FY24, VR&E had approximately.
So he brings up the PACT Act. So the PACT Act is right here. PACT Act and your VA benefits. So the law expands VA healthcare and benefits for veterans exposed to burn pits, Agent Orange, other toxic substances. This law helps us provide generation of veterans and their survivors with care and benefits that they've earned. And starting March 5th, 2024, we're expanding the VA benefits to millions. So as of 2024, let's say hypothetically, there's 100 people. It's now 144. So it almost doubled its numbers in 1 year because they finally put together a law that stated, or an act and a law that stated, hey, here we're going to let these people, only these people. So if you got diabetes while on tour, if you did certain things, you might not get these benefits. Now, again, I don't know about the diabetes. I apologize. I'm just, prefacing or paraphrasing that certain illnesses and certain health issues may not be covered. So you have to first go through the VR&E. So this is why it takes 18 months. You first, as a veteran, have to sign up. And again, I am not a vet. I am a veteran supporter and advocate. My father is a service-disabled vet. And it's something I'm very passionate about, but it blows my freaking mind that in order to get your VA benefits first, you have to go to somebody that evaluates you and says, oh yeah, you're hurt enough. That first, I feel like, is degrading. Like, no matter what it is, anybody in the VA any veteran should have these benefits. But that's an argue in and of itself. But this is what the PACT Act is, and that's what they're referring to.
Approximately 134,000 active participants, which grew to over 174,000 by the end of the fiscal year. VR&E provided support to over 297,000 veterans and service members and paid out over $2.1 billion in benefits last fiscal year. VR&E also assisted over 17,000 individuals successfully obtain employment or improve their independence in living. While the VR&E program has experienced significant growth, field staff continue to perform at high levels. In fiscal year 24, 17,123 positive outcomes were achieved, exceeding the goals. Field staff additionally have demonstrated sound fiscal judgment with their use of taxpayer dollars, achieving a 95.8% fiscal accuracy score in FY24. Additionally, 99% of VR&E payments are made in less than 30 days due to the implementation of the invoice payment processing system. To improve service to veterans and efficiencies within the VR&E program, VR&E set out on a path for the future by introducing the 6-point plan. The 6-point plan was designed to promote continuous improvement in service delivery, streamline internal processing, and leverage technology. As part of this plan, VR&E expanded the educational requirements for who can serve as a vocational rehabilitation counselor, or a VRC, to accept an additional 5 master's degrees. This change has allowed VR&E to fill critical positions with qualified applicants, with all expanded degrees being recognized by the credentialing body for rehabilitative counseling, the Commission on Rehabilitative Counseling Certification. VR&E also added a new position to the field, the Vocational Rehabilitation Specialist, or VRS, whose duties include performing routine tasks and basic but critical case management duties. The addition of this position has freed up counselors, allowing them to spend additional time with veterans. In FY23 and 24, VR&E increased staff by 24%, adding 480.
So you increased a quarter after basically your numbers doubled? Okay. Sure. Hey, for every 7 people we got, we added 3 more employees. Like, you're still understaffed, and you're happy about it. This is the 6-point plan that he's bringing up. A modern case system, aggressive field staff recruitment, which is not going well, creation of quality review teams, enhancement of employment services, and ongoing updates to the program itself. Now, unfortunately, not to get into politics, but to, point out just facts of observation, this is before the new administration. So we know one thing: none of this is going to happen. Not going to happen. There's no way. No way. If you're slashing budgets, and I would say that this is more than requirement by us as American taxpayers and people, that we should be taking care of our vets. Full stop. Period. I don't care what side of the aisle you're on, who you think you are. Our vets are people that put their lives on the line and should be getting benefits for that, whether it be college, whether it be any of the above, healthcare, like any of these benefits for welding programs or whatever they want to do. Do you want to become an electrician? Come on in, free for vets. Yeah, why not? I don't care if you sat at a desk in South Korea or you were in Iraq fighting the war. Again, those are 2 different jobs and 2 different points of stress, but they're both respected because you are a civil servant. You're not a town clerk. You're not somebody. You went to another country or another place and sat and went through boot camp and paid your dues. You paid your dues. Isn't that what America's about? Paying your dues, getting your benefits. And for a veteran to come back and then try to go into a school program and have to wait 18 months. And again, there are a lot of successes here. There's a lot of good that's coming out. Again, like they said, almost $1.2 billion worth of benefits paid. In fiscal year 2024, VR provided services to almost 200,000 people and reported, which I feel like that's kind of a low number. So this is another statistic that they pointed out in that 6-point plan in his testimony. Nick Pamperin. What is that percentage? So if 1,900, let's do the math in a word problem because it's better for me. So 1,968 people went through the program and 17,273 were positive. Like what? 6%? I'm guessing. Yeah. So about 9% of those that went through the program was positive. I feel like that's not good. Now, again, a lot of those people out of, let's say 15% of them were people that are like, hey, I went through this program. It was great, but I just left. I didn't need it. I got a new job. I got something else. Something happened. Like, so I don't need this benefit. And they never did the study. They never did the, overall. But my question, how is 9% positive outcomes a good indication of success? It just doesn't make sense. I don't know how you can tout that as a fact that's like, oh, look at how good we are. What?
3 field staff in the last 2 fiscal years, 372 FTE last year alone. While this expansion and the addition of the increased staffing has helped VA respond to the dramatic program growth, we continue to need additional resources, electronics to develop yes budget.
All right, so we're going to skip.
And will be entered into the hearing record.
So I want to hear
We're now
their
going to proceed to
questions.
questionings and ask the members to strictly adhere to the 5-minute rule. I'm going to recognize Ranking Member Levin.
Notifying officials regarding the backlogs that veterans face when accessing services. Approximately 15,000 service members transition out of Camp Pendleton in my district each year. And I'm deeply concerned to be hearing about significant backlogs at the San Diego VR&E office. As I mentioned in my opening statement, in my district, we've heard that veterans have to wait for approximately 15 to 18 months for an initial appointment. My staff reached out to your office to get updated wait times for veterans at the San Diego VR&E office back in September, and we haven't heard back. Do you have updated wait times you can share with us now? And if not, can you commit to sending that information to my staff as soon as possible?
How is that acceptable? Your one of your bosses requested information in December. This hearing is in September. This hearing is in December. 3 months. What? September, October, November, December, almost 4 months. Now, granted, what if it was September 30th? I don't know. But it doesn't matter. The point is, what is his department doing? He's the director. He's in charge. He's in charge. So why didn't they answer? And or why didn't he answer? He's got a chance to answer right now. What does he say?
Why do so many folks over?
An ad at the worst moment, of course. Bye.
Thank you for the question. One, I will certainly be looking into the RFI that you submitted in September to understand.
Looking
where
into
that
it?
is.
What does that mean, sir?
I will
What the fuck?
find out why a response hasn't been submitted.
Will you provide answers to our
Absolutely.
questions?
Currently, the wait
By
time.
when, Mr. Pamperin?
I can give you the San Diego wait time right now. The current San Diego average wait time is 155 days, which is still well above the 60-day target.
Do you think that's acceptable, 155-day wait time?
I do not.
What are you going to do about it?
So we've undertaken a number of things at the national level, and I will ask Mr. Smith as well as from the local level. One of the things that we've done is San Diego has a unique struggle of a large growing caseload and a difficulty in recruiting staff. These are very limited positions that we're able to hire. So one of the things that we've done is we've deployed what we call partner stations and added additional staff to the Albuquerque regional office, the Boise regional office, offices relatively close to the Southern California area where they have an ability to hire and keep staff. And those individuals at those partnering stations are dedicated to support nothing but the San Diego and Southern California region. Not all of those positions have been filled yet, but with the expansion of the degrees, we've seen dramatic growth in the ability to recruit folks.
So if you take those steps, does that lead to those wait times being brought down to the 60-day target?
I think there's more than just that. There's also internal processes that can be streamlined to make things more efficient. So I think it's a combination of people, technology, and process that will drive those wait times down.
So by when can you get people, technology, and process in order to hit your 60-day target?
It would be speculation at this point, and I would have to get back to you.
Well, speculation is better than 155-day wait time. I want to know what I should tell my veterans who are ready to give up on the program because of 15 to 18-month waits to get an initial appointment.
And that's an initial appointment. And look at it. So if the San Diego VR office is at 450 days for an initial appointment to an estimated 540, they're now technically 155 days, still almost half a year, 5 months. That's and that's missing a couple of days because if you do if 155 divided by 30 and not every month has 30 days, so it's missing 6, 7, 8 days or whatever it is. That's still just to get an initial appointment. So now what happens is you get your initial appointment, and then after that you have to go to another appointment and another one and another one and another one until you enroll in a program. So if your first appointment takes 6 months, what's the normal rate for a secondary appointment? And be in mind, the goal is to have a vet wait 2 months. 2 months is acceptable. So when someone's transitioning from civilian life into military life, they have to stop what they're doing, wait 2 months, and then start figuring out what they're going to do with their life. What? How is this not a part of every veteran's transitional services? There should be 22 million people a year or whatever is currently active in the military. I don't know what the numbers are of people that now are active, because usually our military floats around 22 to 30 million active participants or active vets. That's active. That's not inactive. That's National Guard. That's Air Force, military, every military branch, give or take. Of course, there's numbers that are not going to be, fully public, of course. But at the same time, why aren't every single one of these vets getting this type of benefit? It doesn't have to be a full counselor. It could be a program where someone says, "Hey, what are you trying to? You're going to transition from civilian to or military to civilian life. Awesome. Here's a couple of videos. Here's this. Here's other potential." And I don't want to go outsource it to nonprofits or other things like that, because then you take the onus away from the VA. This gentleman is the guy that's in charge, Pamperin. This guy is the guy that should know what's going on, why we're having these problems, and not keep falling back on a 6-point plan. And that's what they go through this entire time. I'm not going to go through the whole video because I just wanted to give a breakdown of how bad this was in December. We're in March. It's only going to get worse.
San Diego has a, and I know that seems like a long time, but to do our due diligence to really, I think what makes this effort different is we spent 10 months, and I know that seems like a long time, but to do our due diligence to really understand what went wrong in the initial. We put together an entire project team between the VR&E staff and...
So, small time limit for me. What did go wrong?
I think in both of those efforts, I think the requirements would not have been able to deliver a case management system.
So within the case management system, was it the training process or was it the software itself?
In the first instance, sir, it was the software. In the second instance, I think it was a combination of the platform and the individuals.
So they did an RFI for a VR&E modernization system, and they either weren't direct enough to the prime contractor of what they needed, or they chose the wrong prime contractor. That's a huge problem. That means that as a director, your contracting officers didn't provide the system you needed. That's your fault. Let's go back to the beginning on this.
Is we spent 10 months.
Passed
You can see how
the
worried he
VA
looks.
with
He's like,
their own
"Oh, God."
guidance?
I believe it's in regulation.
Can you find that out?
Absolutely.
that was another. I'm eating. I'm sorry. Let me just play this back from the beginning. Get to his initial questions for that specific ranked member.
You're faced with a great challenge of a delay of 155 days. You have, is it VCRs?
VRC, sir.
VRCs, I'm sorry, I just did the 1980s. VRCs who have a master's program. And then you have normal social workers. And if I read correctly, it is that the VRCs are the only ones, and because of that shortage, that they are the only ones to make the decisions for entitlements, correct? Entitlement decisions?
Correct, sir. A VRC has to make an entitlement decision, but a individual with a master's in social work, as you noted, that is one of the degrees that we expanded to that can qualify. The additional position of the VRS, the Voc Rehab Specialist, that position cannot make entitlement decisions.
Tell me why.
Because they do not have the affirmative education requirement that is necessary.
Can they be trained in order to do that? Because if you're having a difficult time filling those positions, can those individuals that have the education to do that train the individuals with the social work degree, because that's what other industries are doing in shortages, to be able to fulfill the obligation of getting people through quicker?
In the current construct, VRS, the Voc Rehab Specialist, are not allowed to. It does require to make a decision for entitlement for the benefit to be at that master's educated level.
Required by whom?
That's where he says
The VA with their own guidelines?
regulation.
I believe it's in regulation.
So he doesn't know why. Why do they need a master's? Because. And then this is the moment. This is great. This is where like you appreciate the sentiment from some of these people. They're professionals. But he looks
Can you
dumbfounded.
find that out?
Absolutely.
Can you find that out? Hey, look at him.
Thank you, Chairman. It's the first time I got cheered on by my chairman. I didn't intend to do that. Okay. My intentions are to be able to find a solution. Now, going towards the software analysis.
Like, he's not trying to get this guy. He's not trying to be like, gotcha. This isn't like one of those heated debates where, like the Senate confirmation, where they're like, did you do this thing? Didn't you say this? I have this tech. Like, it's not like that. This is just a government official being like, hey, other government official, why is this broken? Well, let me look into that. You've had 3 or 4 months to prepare for this meeting. How are you not prepared, and how is that okay?
Of the 3 attempts. Passed 2 years ago, was chairman of technology modernization for the subcommittee, and had experience with the electronic medical records. Can someone articulate why the challenges of the software is an ongoing issue, and what are the solutions?
Sure. For the previous 2 efforts, there were a number of challenges that I would contend. Lack of clear requirements, contract vehicles.
So he's
I
bringing,
think what makes this effort different is we spent 10 months, and I know that seems like a long time, but to do our due diligence to really understand what went wrong in the initial. We put together an entire project team between
10 months is an
VR&E
incredible.
staff and
So, small time limit for me. What did go wrong?
I think in both of those efforts, I think the requirements would not have been able to deliver. In
So
the first,
you didn't get the
we have
right
not
requirements.
encountered
You didn't put
any
together the.
resistance
Don't
at
blame
any-
the contract vehicle. Don't blame procurement. You're the one that did the RFI and you did the RFP. You put together a team and you approved a contract. And it didn't turn out successful. That's, hey, I made mistakes. I'm the one, and the reason why it's not working because we chose a contract vehicle. Don't blame the contract vehicle.
Of the 4 pilot sites, we have launched a number of virtual road shows where we've demonstrated it and gotten overwhelmingly positive support. You know, this is a system, as the chairman pointed out, that was promised years ago and should have been delivered years ago. The field wants it and the field needs it.
Okay. So is it the providers? I guess if you had to pinpoint the changing agent, what would you pinpoint would be something that has to change in order to operate to its full function and what you're trying to accomplish?
Training and acceptance to the change, which is why we've created a dedicated staff for the RES team to include a change agent.
But that was my original question, was there resistance to the change?
And as of right now, at none of the pilot sites has there been resistance.
Okay.
I'm talking from a basic change management strategy, sir, the things that we know have to be done to make sure that folks are fully trained and capable of running it, which is keeping them informed, keeping them trained, and up to date on the progress of the RES platform.
So a lot of vague references. This is my last question. When this software was implemented, what was the cause that you said this isn't operating correctly? What was the red flag that popped up for you? Is it part of the, obviously it's part of the reason for the 155 delay, but what was the red flag that said we cannot continue on this path?
Germans have figured out a way to increase.
Sir, I wasn't in this position for either of the 2 iterations.
The first thing he does is covers his own ass. CYA, cover your ass. You want to see somebody that is backed into a corner? This is what it looks like. And again, I understand where he's coming from and why he needs to be like, whoa, 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 whoa. I wasn't here for some of this stuff. Okay. You've been here for 3 years. 2021, 22, 23, 24. What do you know? Why hasn't it been working? Don't cover your ass. We know it. We know that you've only been here 3 years. That's a given. But you still haven't been able to answer any of the questions. You're giving vague double speak about, well, it's, the contract schedule. Get out of here.
For the second iteration, again, I wasn't here for that, but there was a lack of confidence in the ability to make a payment and an accurate payment. And obviously, if you're not doing that, the system is not working, and we cannot not pay an accurate rate to a veteran. And I believe that, as well as delays, were the 2 overriding factors that the organization made for discontinuing that previous effort. We have not encountered those issues with RES to date.
Okay. I thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
The gentleman yields back.
Why didn't he preface that? He came in such a defensive way when he could have came out on such an offensive platform. He came in so scared. I just don't get why he's coming in from such a scared perspective of being like, well, it's not my fault. I just want to let you know I didn't do it. Like, okay, we know that. Just come in and say, hey, listen, things were broken in the past. You know, the first thing I came and solved was the benefit issue. The system beforehand wasn't making payments out. That's a huge problem. Doesn't matter if someone's owed $7 and you pay them $6, you still owe them $1, and then you got to pay them again, and that's another payment in a payment process system that could cost more money. That's inefficient. We don't want to do that. We don't want to double pay, triple pay people just to get them the right amount of money. But the first thing he comes out and says is, well, it wasn't my fault. You're in charge right now. I'm not asking you whose fault it was. What happened? And the first thing he cares about is covering his own ass.
I now recognize my friend from the great state of Kentucky, Mr. McGarvey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And with all of the questions asked by my colleagues up here, I just want to start with a really simple question. Who's in charge of this program?
Here we go.
I am the executive director of the program, sir. I'm in charge of it.
Then why don't you have answers for how to fix it?
Sir, I think we do, and that's part of our 6-point plan that is leading into our strategic roadmap. There's not just one answer. We could put more bodies in there, but counselors in the field are still doing manual math, manual data entry. We've got too many forms and complicated processes. As we've been going through RES development, and even prior to that, we've gone through the elimination of forms. So it's not just one.
I just noticed too that the 6-point plan that he's talking about, according to the documents and his testimony, there's only 5 points. So that, of course, missing one. I probably have the wrong information, or I missed one when I copy and pasted it, but I just found that funny.
One simple answer. It's a combination of we need a whole lot of things to be fixed in the people, process, and technology space.
It's not one simple answer, but it seems to be an ongoing problem. And it's not a problem that developed last week. And you've known about these problems, right? You heard Mr. Levin talk about the fact that there are veterans in San Diego who are waiting 15 to 18 months to hear back, which is completely unacceptable. But this is in line. We have a letter here from the Student Veterans of America. They did a survey in which they show that nearly half of the respondents, 48%, reported meeting with their VRC, their counselor, their Veteran Resource Counselor, within 1 to 3 months of entering the program. However, almost 20% waited 4 to 6 months or longer. 20%, which of course we can guess what that means. And then of course it said that 38% reported that their counselor was rarely or never available, and only 1 in 4, 25% of the people using this program, are saying that they can always get a hold of the people they need to access these benefits. I just remind you of who we're serving. We are not just serving our veterans. We are serving our veterans who have a service-related disability. These are our men and women who were willing to put on a uniform to sacrifice everything for us, and in some cases sacrificed a great deal. And this program, which we have a letter here from the VFW, they say, the Vocational Rehabilitation and Employment Program is incredibly successful. VR&E has been described by veterans as a life-changing opportunity that puts them on the path for success. But then even the VFW immediately follows that sentence by saying, however, many informed the VFW they did not receive sufficient guidance to navigate this process. They complain about the amount of time it takes for our veterans to get these benefits that they have earned. And we're at the holidays right now. You mentioned that wait times in San Diego are 155 days. If I told you that you could go on Amazon right now to get a holiday present for somebody, but the shipping time is 155 days, would you do it?
No.
Okay. What happens when these veterans can't get these benefits in a timely manner, when they are waiting 4 to 6 months or longer, 155 days, it makes them less likely, and this is shown in the studies, this is shown in the surveys we have in front of us, it makes them less likely to access these benefits, to get not just what they want. The example I gave you was a want. What they need and what they want is meaningful employment after the service. And so we want to help you guys out, but it seems like we're always getting people up here who are saying, we'll get back to you, we'll look into that, we'll take care of that, there's a 6-point plan, but we have data that says veterans haven't been accessing their benefits for 15 to 18 months. When is that going to get better?
We're going to stop right there because that's a poignant, a very good point to stay at. And the first thing I want to talk about is I'm just typing it out just to think it through, because I want to talk about how many issues there are, of course, but now I want to talk about, as a veteran, what should you do? And I think that last statement brings it up very, very straightforward. And it's unfortunate because in reality, as a veteran, you need to push and push and push. Because unfortunately, and I know it's incredibly stressful, you have real life going on. the last thing you need to do is say, hey, I got to fight the government to give me a benefit I've earned. And that's really sad. But at the same time, you know what you deserve. You know your worth. And I think it's worth fighting to go through the VR&E. I don't want you to stop your appointments. I wouldn't recommend that. Get your appointments. Call more. Bother them more. Call once a week. Hey, I'm still waiting. I'm still here. I'm not going anywhere. I think that's what, unfortunately, you got to do, especially in places like San Diego. Now, you might look at the wait times in Kentucky, and it might be different. I don't know. There's no, you can't find the data on the website, and they are very closed off, and things are going to get harder. That is something that I can almost guarantee. I feel like in a 90%, possibility that things are not going to get easier. But that's why I wanted to highlight this and make a video about it on where has the VR&E benefits been? What are the problems that they're facing? And can we track and keep an eye on what they're doing for our veteran population? So that's why I wanted to make a video. I appreciate if you watched it full through. Thank you so much for just staying tuned, being a part of it. If you have any veterans in your family or anybody that you know trying to help them out, look into these programs, connect with them, talk to them about it. Be like, hey, don't just thank them for their service. Try to help them directly. That's a good way to thank a veteran for his service. Hey, let me help you make some phone calls. Let me find someone to help you with your resume. Let me do this. Let me do that. There's a million ways to help a veteran. Shaking their hand is an amazing thing and very beautiful, but it doesn't do anything. We have to actually go out there and fight for our veterans, just like they fought for us. CMAR professionals, thank you so much for watching, and see you in the next video. Have a great day.